Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly for pricing. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. In 2018, Omega redesigned its Bedrock Diver 300 meter from the Seamaster collection. In 2019, it added a new model line within the series, the Seamaster Diver 300 meter black ceramic. And so this is an evolution of that design, black ceramic case, but with luxurious Sedna red gold. So in red gold and black ceramic, it's 43.5 millimeters in diameter, 14.7 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 51.5 millimeters, with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. You could see one of the standout features of this watch, in addition to its lovely rubber strap, is its use of a full ceramic pin and buckle. Now this is where a lot of brands that don't have the resources of the Swatch Group will cut some corners, and they'll give you a DLC black titanium or steel pin buckle. They simply can't afford to make a durable ceramic piece that small, or they don't have the attention to detail. Well, Swatch Group, through its materials science and R&D, as well as its ceramic provider Commodore, they have the ability to make tiny parts in durable black ceramic. So this part of the watch is the most likely to be under your wrist when you're desk diving and moving it across your desk and keyboard. And because it's black ceramic like the watch, it won't scratch. The strap is lovely. You can see rubber with striations, a combination of a brushed-like and matted finish, and then on the bottom a wave motif, which you'll also find on the dial side. But it wears well for a big watch. At 43.5, you might think it too large for me, but my 16 centimeter circumference wrist wears it fairly well. Now that said, I really do think you need a wrist of 16 centimeters circumference or larger. You give it a shot at 15, but take a look down the barrel. The lugs really are getting close to the edge of my wrist. Maybe not quite there, but close. So I'd say if you have a really flat wrist, try 15. Everyone else, 16 centimeters circumference is the minimum. It's not super thick. It will slide underneath most cuffs. Tight dress sleeves, this sleeve, no. But jackets, absolutely. We looked at the strap, we looked at the buckle, now let's look at the case. What I always found impressive with the Omega ceramic cases is that they're finished the same way the metal cases would be. Now this has some fingerprints on it, but it does not have a single mark of damage. These ceramic components are extremely scratch and scuff resistant. They're also very, very light, and like gold, hypoallergenic. We have a helium escape valve, so you can actually open this generation of the helium escape valve while you're underwater, and what happens is if helium builds up in the watch during a special type of diving called saturation, well, when the internal pressure of the watch exceeds external pressure by 2 to 3 bar as you're rising back to the surface, this little valve will let the helium out to avoid discharging the seals and the sapphires. And it is a 300 meter diver, and yes, I know 300 meters is not 1,000 feet. Just press the I believe button. Every watch brand does that. We have a screw down crown in matching red gold, and this Sedna red gold has a high percentage of copper to make it redder, and then a high percentage of materials like palladium and platinum family components to prevent it from fading over time, so it stays very red. It's the equivalent of Rolex's Everrose in terms of its color and capability. On the dial, we have rose gold indices and hands, likely plated rather than solid given the price point of the watch. And you could see that we have those famous James Bond skeleton hands, as this is part of that series that first debuted in 1993. The Diver 300 meter rose to fame on the wrist of Pierce Brosnan during his turn as 007. And so a lot of people always call this series the James Bond Seamasters, and those skeleton hands are very closely associated with the type, as is the dial wave pattern. But you can see here, this is an inverse of what you find on the standard Diver 300 meter, where you have a polished primary dial base, and then there are these laser cuts into the ceramic that have matted bases. What you can see here is that we actually have these raised ridges that are polished, and the dial as a whole is mostly matte finished. We have no date. Unlike the standard Diver 300 meter, this is a perfectly symmetrical no date. We do have a hacking seconds function, though for obvious reasons we don't have a quick set. Stop the seconds hand, synchronize the watch to a reference time. There's a little bit of an off-white cream color to this lume that makes it a better complement to the color of the hands. And I'll show you the lume of the watch, lest you have any doubts about the sheer firepower of this luminescence. The Cream color does not rob you of any lumens. You can see the minute hand and the bezel pearl are both green, so you can read them apart easily from the rest of the dial. And then the second sand is lumed, so you know even in the dark, even in the depths, that your watch is running. One thing I like about dive bezels is that they give you a lot of the functionality of a chronograph without the downstream costs of service. We have a very chatty and chunky 120 click action to this bezel. The Diver 300 meter bezel beveling has always been rather shallow, so I always recommend if you're going to use this to time a dive, do it before your hands are wet, before you jump in. The bezel is all satinated in rose gold, and then we have a raised relief of polished numerals and indices, and you can see the entire bezel is calibrated. It's not just the first 15 minutes. This is almost like a military style. You have this 0 to 60-minute timing instrument, and the black part of the bezel, the insert, is all ceramic for scratch resistance. You can see via laser ablation, it has this wonderful chiseled granular profile. And on the back, Omega caliber 8806. It's the Note 8 version of the 8800. Automatic winding with high-efficiency ceramic rotor bearings. It's got a single barrel and a 55-hour power reserve, stop seconds, 35 pivot joules, full balance bridge with a free-sprung balance for shock tolerance, a coaxial escapement as invented by George Daniels and developed and implemented by Omega through the years, now giving us the combination of improved power reserve, precision, and reduced maintenance requirements. It is a double impulse system with one direct and one indirect impulse of the balance wheel, which beats away at 25,200 vibrations per hour. And it is a fully anti-magnetic escapement, silicone hairspring, balance and balance staff. It's part of the master chronometer certification of this watch. It's tested to over 15,000 Gauss, basically an amagnetic watch. The master or Metas chronometer standard was developed in conjunction with the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology. It is an open standard. It's not like Omega developed this and designated all of its watches master chronometer because it controls the standard. It doesn't. The standard's real, and recently, because it's open, Tudor has started to master chronometer certified watches. So you're going to see a lot more of this. It is a test of the fully assembled watch, not the bare movement. The bare movement meets the COSC, but it goes beyond. As a fully cased up watch, it's tested for chronometry in 6 positions, not 5. It's tested for power reserve. It's tested for winding efficiency, water resistance, shock resistance, and of course, magnetic resistance. This movement, quite simply, is stacked, and the watch has got a lot going for it. It's a very versatile piece for a big wrist that can be your dress watch or your sports watch. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.